My wife is finally pregnant and I was over the moon, until I caught her getting way too cozy with her guy friend, and now I'm thinking there's a chance this baby isn't mine and I want a paternity test. My wife, 38 female, and I, 39 male, have been together for 12 years. I don't know how to describe it other than calling it the perfect relationship. I think in 12 years we've only ever gotten to the point of really raising our voices at one another maybe 2 or 3 times. We do everything together but always have never had issues allowing each other to lead our own lives and follow our own interests. We bought a house where we wanted. We both have good high-paying jobs that have great work-life balance. Basically it's been everything short of perfect. We've been trying for 2 years to get pregnant and it hadn't been happening. We were just about to start the fertility stuff when I came home from a work trip, and guess what? She's pregnant. I had this weird instant thought of, wait, I thought we didn't try during the week last month because of the fertility testing. But I couldn't remember exactly because, to be honest, we were busy at it. So I just assumed I misremembered. Now, I travel around the country pretty regularly for work. I've been on the road as much as 40 weeks a year sometimes. Ever since COVID 4 years ago it's been less, but still more than a week a month. Over the last 4 or 5 years my wife has gotten very friendly with a guy she works with. Let's call him Matt. Matt is slightly younger, I think 34 or so. I know him, he's married, I know his wife. They've worked together for I think 7 years or so. He's always been around, him and I have been friendly. Have I ever thought something was happening? No, but I've always thought. You'd be a fool to not think there's even a 1% chance your spouse would go outside the relationship. Maybe I'm naive, but I've always seen it as a safeguard to not take my wife or any other partner in the past for granted. She's never given me a reason to think she'd do that, but anything is possible. So about a month ago I'm out of state for work and she's at home. I ask her what she's doing earlier in the day and she says Matt is coming by for dinner. Not out of the ordinary, Matt comes by from time to time. Sometimes with his wife, sometimes without, sometimes when I'm not there. I don't think much of it. We have a security system which includes cameras both inside and outside of the house which we installed after an unrelated incident a few years ago. They record and are live accessible by both her and I. I often use those cameras to check on the dog when I or both of us are away, as the rest of the system is monitored by a company in case of an alarm going off. She knows I check those cameras. There's a system installed where I can talk through them. I'll mess with my wife and she will with me on them if either of us are out of town. She travels for work as well, but far less than I do. Point is, it's known that I check them often when I'm not at home. So I turn on the camera and I see my 4-month pregnant wife, lying on the floor, on her side with Matt sitting, straddling her legs and using a foam roller to massage her hips. So I'm like, okay, what the heck is this? I start rewinding through the footage and they are eating and talking normally, but then they get on the couch and get under the same blanket. Now, they are feet to feet, but that couch isn't that big. Then they move to the floor and that's when I logged in. Anyway, I text her, I'm still watching the cameras, they both look like deer in headlights, and he very quickly leaves. We get into an argument. She isn't mad at me accusing her, but she's adamant that nothing has or ever would happen, and that what I saw was innocent, and she was complaining about being in pain from the pregnancy. Which I know is true, she's already having some issues with back pain etc. The biggest point of that discussion was I asked if I were there would you two have been comfortable doing any of that in front of me, and she reluctantly admitted, no, probably not. I told her I didn't want to talk after that and we'd talk when I got home 3 days later. That's when it hit me. What if my weird gut moment feeling about her telling me she was finally pregnant was this? What if my 1% happened and this is not my child we are having? Now, it eats away at me while I'm at a hotel alone 1,000 miles away for 3 days. I reconcile with myself that I think it's less likely than more likely that something between them has happened. But basically my 1% just jumped to 10%, 20% maybe? I get home and she's on eggshells and doesn't mention it. I kinda wait to see what she's going to do. 2 days later she finally brings it up and breaks down. Swears nothing has happened, she would never. Doesn't do anything over the top to try and prove anything. Which I took as a good sign. But anyway, we talk out the issue and everything to a point of at least moving forward for now. I'm still coping and dealing with it, figuring out how to retrust after all this time. I'm getting more and more understanding of the fact that they are friends, they've been friends for so long. Maybe he has intentions, but I don't see her having any and I've never really picked up on it, and I've spent time around both of them together many times, and never caught anything. So the thing that is destroying me right now is, if I'm wrong and something did happen, while I can figure out how to deal with that, what if that child isn't mine? In the argument and few long conversations we've had about the situation since, I've never brought that up, and she's not mentioned it. Mostly because I don't want to make the situation worse and crush her if in fact she's telling the truth, which I mostly believe. The only thing I can think to do at this point is to wait until the baby is born and immediately order a paternity test in secret. Should I do that? Should I tell her and have it dealt with now? If you're a woman in her shoes and you're telling the truth, would that destroy you, or your view of me? If you're lying, what would you do if I asked? I don't want to ask a super vague question, but what do I do? Edit to address some general comments. 1. Some have made some good points about addressing it now rather than later, and that's something that I'm considering more than I was before. Thank you. 2. To those focused only on my relationship. I get it, but that's not what I'm focused on. We've been talking about it a lot. My wife and I are pretty open people with each other. I'm not saying I'm convinced nothing happened, but I'm more focused on paternity right now. 3. If I need to track, spy on, or Life 360 my wife, then this relationship is over already. That's not the relationship we have and not one that I ever want, and in my opinion not one anyone should ever have. We are working on rebuilding trust. As I said in this long-winded post, my default of 1% possibility went up to 10% or so. Trust me, I'm taking my relationship seriously, but to those I've said this to already, if the kid isn't mine, then there's no longer any conversation to have. 4. I've already had this discussion with my lawyer. I don't live in a state where the birth certificate stuff will be an issue. If I have paperwork that this child isn't mine, then divorce isn't going to be much of an issue. Both of us are in an independent financial situation where it won't matter much regardless. First update the next day, so she was out of state on a business trip until late last night. It's Friday, so she worked from home in our kitchen. So I asked to talk and brought it up and asked for a test. She immediately said yes and said there's zero doubt and nothing that she'd even have a second to worry about. But she has no problem doing it now. The only caveat I left it with is, if it's invasive at all per our doctors, then I'm okay waiting until it's low risk. I'm not a doctor, no clue what they'd have to do it now. So not sure when we are, but she's aware and we're getting one. It was a decent and longer conversation. We are currently sitting together getting lunch. She's got no clue I did this on Reddit. Thank you everyone for your help and opinions. A bunch of you made me realize that we are already really open about everything, and if nothing happened then she wouldn't worry about getting one. I was more worried about her health and adding some insane level of stress if it was an issue, as she's an at-risk pregnancy and it took so long for us to get pregnant. So again, thank you all for the help. I suppose I can update if it's mine or not, but I'm not sure how long that will be. I'm 90 to 95% sure it is mine. But this will help us continue this conversation. Thank you. Edit to add, yes I have the footage. No, I haven't talked to Matt yet. He's told her he wants to talk about it, but I've told them to wait on that. My relationship with my wife and the paternity is what's important right now. I will eventually talk with Matt. No, I'm not going to get Matt's wife involved intentionally. I don't know why I would other to just be vindictive. I'm not going to cover for him obviously, but his relationship is his, and mine is mine. I'm not interested in making this worse. Whatever is going on between him and his wife isn't any of my business. Relevant comments. OP when asked why his wife thought she could be intimate with someone else. We've talked about it at length, nothing is being ignored. I could write you an essay about our past, her reasons and my feelings on it. But instead I'll just say I'm aware of it. She's claiming innocence of anything further, but at the same time admitting that it wasn't a good look, but she wasn't thinking about it at the time. And that's what we are currently working through. When OP is told it doesn't look innocent and asked if his wife goes to Matt's house when his wife isn't home, we are pretty open people and pretty comfortable with ourselves and each other. I don't know if she's been to his house without his wife. I mean, the 3 and 4 of us all hang out probably once or twice a month, but they work directly together every day and have for years. So obviously there's a closeness there. They are both upper management in their company. And at my company I have long-term friends that are women. I've traveled with them, we've done dinner and hung out in hotel rooms together. But I've never done anything because, that's not me. I'm married and love my wife and my life. I have no reason to. So I mean, the optics are bad. I just have to decide if it's only the optics, or if she has a reason to. Maybe he has a reason to and that's what I saw? That I'm not sure about, but that comes down to, do I trust her to handle that? She says if that's the case she's never noticed it. And she hangs out with him and his wife just about as much as he hangs out with us. She works in a building right near them. My company is based out of Chicago and I live on one of the coasts. So my coworker friends are much more spread out. We can't go to the bar to grab after work drinks any day like they can. Honestly, I usually go to their work hangouts more than mine because of that. I'm friendly with her CEO because of it. So is it perfect? No. But I've always trusted her. I've never had a reason not to. In 15 years, this is the first crack or dent in it. For the people asking exactly what happened after I caught them. After I caught them, she said something, and he froze. He said something I couldn't hear, and she said no don't worry about it. He put something in the dishwasher and she walked him out to the front door. He didn't dive out the window. You have to remember this is Reddit. I'm not putting every single nuanced detail in this because that would take me hours to write, and I'm not putting my security footage on the internet for strangers to see. The reason I have the security system in the first place is because of a stranger on the internet. I'm not saying anything beyond that didn't happen for sure between them. I'm saying I don't know now and I don't have any proof. That's what my wife and I are discussing just about every day and what we are working through. The original point of the post was, the only thing we hadn't talked about was paternity because I don't want to put her in a situation where she medically loses the child. Mine or not. Not only have I not been able to put every single nuanced thing in this, I've also sprinkled in false details about our lives, nothing pertinent to what happened but other mundane details. I was a very small public figure at one point, and some low life from the internet traveled across the country to make death threats against us because of something warped in his head. To the point where the federal government had to get involved. People in here are wildly jumping at conclusions with much less information than I have and ignoring the original point of the post and the original questions asked. Commenter asks if he has told Matt's wife? She is my wife's friend's wife. We don't meet up and knit together. I know her through my wife. I see her maybe once every few months at a bar after work, or if they come by for dinner or to hang out. We aren't besties. Again, what should I go tell her? Hey, your husband was at my house. I knew he was there and I saw him run a foam roller over the outside of my wife's hip while he was sitting on her feet. It's super obvious they are screwing, and even though I'm not sure, it's possible she's carrying his baby. This isn't a soap opera. There's nothing I know that I can tell her, so why would she take my word on what tiny evidence there is? And why or how in the world would that help my situation? If all of this is false, now I've destroyed my relationship for acting like a child trying to drum up drama for what obviously looks like being vindictive, and I put them in the same situation we are in now. For something that I don't know is true yet. Second update 3.5 months later. Hi folks. So I haven't been touching this account at all as I was mostly bombarded by people telling me I'm an AI, wishing my wife a miscarriage, claiming she's going to get a secret abortion to save herself. Or that I'm a clown for not keeping it real and destroying someone else's marriage over speculation only. I'm amazed that people are still following this and invested in it after all this time. Here's where we're at. Yes, my wife is still very much pregnant. She's in the hard to pick things up off the floor stage. She's due in 8 weeks. Holy crap, 6 weeks actually, just looked at the calendar. We are getting weekly ultrasounds at this point. He's already about 5 pounds and has a big ol' head. Her and I had some very long direct conversations about everything. She is adamant that nothing has ever happened and nothing ever would. For a while she was pretty upset with herself for causing this and causing my feelings of doubt. I've done my best to remedy that, as I've got to keep stress off her as much as possible right now. But it will for sure be revisited after the birth. As I've been saying the entire time, I'm really only worried about the child and the birth going well, etc. Well, mostly maybe, not only. The only thing we still really disagree on is I thought he was getting too close because he had developed feelings or was getting attention that he wasn't getting elsewhere, maybe, etc. She doesn't see it that way but has also said it's possible. But if so, she was blind to it. I told her I wanted a paternity test and she immediately agreed to it and said no problem at all. My only stipulation was that it couldn't be medically risky or stress-inducing at all, as she's a high-risk pregnancy. We both spoke to her doctors about it and they basically told us that our only option was to go to the courthouse because they wouldn't do one without the law involved, which we both thought was ridiculous. Her doctor was a bit thrown off by it, so I didn't press very hard. It was honestly her pretty much demanding it. I knew there were other options. I looked into those other options and ultimately decided to wait until the birth, and I have a lab already set up to do it, ready to go. I'm 95% sure it's unnecessary, but I'm still getting one for my peace of mind and mostly so that nothing will come between me and my child. For those of you that have left me messages of support that I didn't get back to, thank you. I'm going to spend some time going through them tonight before I run off again. For those of you who've left messages that think I should be acting like a 17-year-old high school student and either getting violent, purposely cheating on my wife to prove a point, or other childish trash, thanks for the entertainment at least. Stop watching TLC and TikTok. That dumb drama ain't the way, kiddos. And to the one person who suggested I cause an accident with my wife, I hope you end up behind bars someday. It's really likely I'm not going to come back here after tonight until after I get the results from the lab. So if you're really still interested in the results, come back in around 2 months. I've been told the results take about 48 hours once submitted. I'll give you your Maury moment then. Honestly, thank you for everyone's concern, and I have gotten some good advice from people. Mostly this has been a bit cathartic to write all this down, as most of my friends are toxic dudes who are more interested in fighting about golf or some other pointless crap. Love M, but I don't really have anyone other than her to talk to about any of this. So honestly, thank you. Quick update: 24 days after the last update. Just got an induction date scheduled on the 26th. Third update 2 weeks after the quick update. Baby boy is here, born September 27th. 7 pounds 10 ounces. He had what the doctors in the OR said was the biggest meconium they've seen in a while on the table, so it was likely he was about 8 pounds when he was born. Labor was induced early morning on the 26th. Labor was like 30 hours. Pushed for like 3 hours. No progress, ended up in a C-section. He's perfectly healthy, and kind of a tank. Mom is dealing with recovery and not having a fun time, but we are getting there. We are being discharged on Tuesday, they tell us. We live about 2 miles from the hospital, so I've been going back to the house to shower and sneak in like an hour or two nap a couple times. Otherwise I've been here the entire time. As far as paternity, just out of all that entails with the birth of a newborn and recovery and honestly a bit of embarrassment. We haven't started the test, but it's set up and ready to start on Tuesday when we get out of here. So I'll give a final update after the results come back. So maybe another week to 10 days? My honest opinion after looking at this kid is, he is mine. Matt and I are physically very opposite. Different heritages. I'm 6 feet 3 inches and 240 pounds. He's probably 5 feet 8 inches and 175-ish pounds. I've always held the belief that babies all generically look the same other than obvious ancestral differences. But yes, this moose of a baby has some obvious traits that would only come from me. Still doing the test, but I'm very much not worried about it. Final update a week and a half later. The baby is as healthy as could be so far. Mom on the other hand has been having issues. We were supposed to be in for 4 days, but it ended up being 8 days. Mom has been back to the hospital twice since. I'm currently sitting in the car with the little guy because Mom's in the emergency room right now. She is making progress but still having a hard time with a few things. As I mentioned before, she has some pre-existing issues that we knew would make this hard. But there have been a few hurdles and we are getting over them together. As far as paternity, the results came back this morning. Greater than 99.9999% match that I am the father. I did pretty much already know this, but now there is no question and I can put it behind me. My wife and I have had long conversations about all this leading up to the birth, especially around the time of the original post when all this started. We're in a good place, and while it's always going to be there, we both have things to work on communication-wise that came from all this. I did also see Matt today. That's been settled. I'm pretty satisfied that what I saw was it and there wasn't anything else beyond that, and it was a friend helping her with pain the same way I do. I do want to thank everyone who left a message or private messaged me. Good or bad comments, thank you. Talking to the void and all you strangers helped me wait this out. I appreciate it. I'm going to go enjoy my son's company now. Thank you again.